Have you ever watched your older dog stand at the bottom of the staircase they used to run up 100 times a day? They stand there in the quiet hallway, looking up at the top step, then down at their own trembling paws. They hesitate. They let out a soft, barely audible sigh, and instead of climbing, they slowly turn around and lie down on the cold floor. In that quiet, heartbreaking moment, a haunting question might cross your mind. Do they know? Do they actually understand that their bodies are failing them, that their physical strength is slipping away day by day? Welcome back to Mindful Paws. Today, we are going to explore one of the most profoundly emotional and widely misunderstood aspects of animal behavior, the psychology of an aging dog. I remember the exact day I realized my own companion was no longer the energetic pup who could chase a tennis ball for hours under the summer sun. It was not a sudden illness that gave it away. It was a subtle, heartbreaking shift, a hesitation before jumping onto the couch, a much longer nap in the afternoon sunlight, a strange, lingering stare into the empty space of our living room. But that slowness is not just a simple matter of muscles getting tired. Behind that heartbreaking silence, when they refuse to move, there is a deeply ingrained survival instinct that the ancestors of dogs have kept hidden for thousands of years. And the truth about why they hide their pain will truly make you look at your senior dog with a completely different level of respect and overwhelming empathy. Let us begin by looking deeply at what is actually happening inside their minds and bodies. Please, do not rush to scold your dog or assume they are just being lazy when they suddenly stop playing or refuse to go on their usual long walks. Many well-meaning pet parents make the innocent mistake of thinking their dog is just becoming stubborn, grumpy, or perhaps even spoiled in their twilight years. But the psychological and biological science of aging tells a very different, much more poignant story. As dogs enter their senior years, they experience significant and irreversible shifts in their brainwave activity. There is a marked decrease in the high-frequency cognitive waves that are usually associated with active learning, environmental curiosity, and physical readiness. At the same exact time, the protective joint cartilage in their legs begins to thin out and deteriorate, causing a painful inflammatory condition known as osteoarthritis. Imagine waking up every single morning with a dull, throbbing ache radiating through your knees and your lower back. That is the silent reality for countless senior dogs. The physical exhaustion they feel is something they simply cannot articulate to us. They do not have the vocabulary to tell you that their hips are burning or that their vision is gradually getting cloudy, making the once familiar and safe living room look like a confusing maze of terrifying shadows. Instead of crying out, they choose absolute stillness. You might catch them sitting completely motionless in the middle of a room, staring blankly at a blank wall, or sleeping heavily in secluded corners they never used to frequent. This state of immobility is not an act of defiance against you. It is a brilliant, yet tragic, biological coping mechanism. Their aging nervous system is actively trying to conserve whatever little energy they have left just to manage the internal stress and the chronic discomfort. When they look up at you, with those milky, aging eyes, they are not ignoring your commands. They are sending out a silent, desperate plea for understanding. They are asking you to recognize the heavy, invisible toll that time has taken on their fragile physical vessel. But why the silence? Why do dogs so rarely cry out in pain unless the physical agony becomes absolutely unbearable? To truly understand this heartbreaking stoicism, we have to travel far back in time, deep into the dense, unforgiving forests where their ancient wolf ancestors once roamed. In the brutal reality of the wild, showing weakness is an immediate death sentence. A sick, injured, or elderly wolf that displays any obvious signs of vulnerability instantly becomes a liability to the entire pack. Whining, limping, or falling behind draws the dangerous attention of apex predators and signals to the rest of the pack members that this specific individual can no longer contribute to the vital hunt. In the harsh mathematics of nature, the weak are inevitably left behind so that the strong can continue to survive. Even though your beloved dog has spent their entire life safely sleeping on a plush memory foam bed and eating premium, carefully prepared meals, that ancient, primal programming is still fiercely hardwired into their genetic code. Your dog views you, your children, and your home as their one and only pack. You are their entire universe. The absolute worst fear a dog can ever experience is not physical pain, but the psychological terror of being separated from their pack. Therefore, when they begin to feel the sharp, undeniable pains of aging, their deepest, most primitive instinct is to hide it from you at all costs. They swallow their discomfort in silence. They endure the aching joints, the failing senses, and the overwhelming fatigue, because they are terrified that if they show you how broken and weak they truly are, you might consider them a burden and leave them behind. They try with every ounce of their declining strength to appear as stable and normal as possible, pushing through the blinding pain just to greet you at the front door, even if it takes them twice as long to get up from their bed. The most beautiful and yet the most agonizing realization is not simply that our dogs are getting older, but how exactly they choose to face that inevitable physical decline alongside us. Have you ever sat quietly and observed how your senior dog suddenly insists on being in the exact same room as you, regardless of the immense physical effort it requires? They will painfully drag their stiff, aching bodies across a cold, slippery hardwood floor, their nails clicking softly in the quiet house, just to follow your every single footstep from the kitchen to the living room. They will completely exhaust their severely limited daily energy reserves, just to collapse heavily at your feet with a long, trembling sigh. They may no longer possess the explosive leg strength, or the confident balance to leap effortlessly onto the sofa, to sit right next to you like they did for the past 10 years. So instead, they will simply rest their graying, silver muzzle on the edge of the fabric cushion, looking up at you with cloudy eyes that seem to hold an absolute ocean of unspoken devotion and quiet suffering. Why do they subject themselves to this unnecessary pain just to be near you? Because to an aging dog, being physically close to their human is quite literally the only medicine that truly works. When a dog rests their heavy head against your leg, or when they feel the gentle, familiar warmth of your hand slowly stroking their thinning fur, their aging brain is triggered to release a massive, comforting surge of a powerful neurochemical called oxytocin. This incredible hormone, often called the love chemical, is scientifically proven to immediately reduce their severe anxiety, significantly lower their elevated, stressful heart rate, and actually dull the sharp sensation of chronic physical pain radiating through their worn-out joints. Your gentle touch, the soothing tone of your familiar voice, and your mere physical presence in the room are the strongest, most effective natural painkillers they have ever known. That is the profound, undeniable miracle of their lifelong loyalty. Even when their physical bodies are actively failing them, even when every step is a monumental struggle, their enormous hearts are still desperately trying to protect and nurture the sacred bond they share with you. They absolutely know they are getting weaker. They can physically feel the undeniable slowing of their own heartbeat, the frightening loss of their youthful agility, and the cold heaviness settling permanently deep within their brittle bones. But their greatest sorrow, their deepest internal grief, is not actually for themselves or their failing health. Their deepest grief comes from the heartbreaking realization that they can no longer run frantically to the front door to bravely protect you from the mail carrier, or sprint across the yard to chase away the imaginary threats lurking in the shadows. They are slowly, reluctantly, relinquishing their self-appointed, lifelong role as your fierce guardian and protector. And that is exactly why we, as their entire world, must completely and fundamentally shift our perspective on their aging process. We must learn to recognize their newfound silence and their frustrating slowness not as a behavioral problem or a sign of stubbornness, but as a profound, loving sacrifice. We need to stop expecting them to magically become the vibrant, tireless puppies they once were. Instead, we must step up with unwavering patience and become the strong, reliable guardians they so desperately need us to be in their final, fragile chapter of life. When they hesitate at the bottom of the steep stairs, looking up with uncertainty, do not try to coax them up with treats or impatient commands. Just bend down, gently pick up their fragile bodies, and carry them to the top. When they can no longer endure the long, exciting walk to the busy neighborhood park, simply sit with them quietly on the soft green grass in your own backyard, close your eyes, and let them peacefully smell the shifting wind. We must willingly become their strong legs when they are entirely too tired to walk another step. We must become their sharp eyes when the world around them becomes entirely too blurry and frightening to navigate alone. This is our ultimate unspoken promise to them. A sacred promise to love them at their absolute slowest, just as fiercely and passionately as we love them at their absolute fastest. Thank you for joining me on this deeply emotional journey today. If this video helped you understand the silent struggles of your faithful companion a little better, please take a moment to leave a comment below sharing a beautiful, cherished memory of your senior dog. Do not forget to like this video, share it with other pet parents who might be struggling to understand their aging furry friends, and subscribe to Mindful Paws so we can continue to explore the incredible, complex psychology of the animals who share our lives and our homes. But before you go, let me leave you with one final, haunting thought to ponder. Have you ever wondered why, when the very end is finally near, even the most incredibly affectionate and clingy dogs will sometimes wander off alone to find a dark, cold, isolated corner of the house to hide in? They will crawl under a forgotten bed, behind a dusty sofa, or into a dark closet, deliberately avoiding your comforting touch when they need it the most. This is not a rejection of your love, but something far more deeply rooted in their ancestral DNA. Why would a creature that loves you more than life itself actively choose to be completely alone in their final terrifying moments on Earth. What are they trying to tell you from the shadows? Join us next time on Mindful Paws as we uncover this heartbreaking mystery and learn how to truly support them when the light finally fades.